This video covers PowerSDR ke9ns 2.8.0.209 and everything since the last video, which was 0.194. The first one is on the left side here. I added previously you left click, but now you can actually see the value of the spectrum floor, which right now you can see how I adjusted it, moves up and down, but you can see what the actual value is as I move it. Now if you right click and hold it, you'll adjust the maximum value. I prefer about 19, and but you can see how the spectrum moves when you play with that. And that's actually just in the display right here. That's what it's adjusting. The next one is in the TX profiles now. These TX profiles will actually store the mode, this mode over here, so you can actually get a profile that you want for sideband. You can store one that's a profile for CW, profile for AM, a profile for digital mode. It'll store the profiles. And the tune step, that's another issue. Now, the larger tune steps, when you get up to these larger ones, they act kind of funky. Like this 9 kilohertz, you'd figure that where I'm at now, if I tune step, I'll go up 9 from where I'm at, but you don't. So you go before that. That's just the way this was. Now, if you let's go back to 0. Now if I if I just left click on this and this darkens this tune step, now it acts like you would think it acts. Now when I move my mouse wheel, it goes up by 9. And you can go back to the way it was originally by just clicking on it again, and then the function goes back to the way it was. It always acts the way you expect it for the smaller numbers here, but when you get up to these odd numbers, the larger tune steps, it acts kind of strange, and then so I corrected it with by clicking, and if you hold your mouse over there, it'll tell you, explain it. The next one is on the grab mode, right here where you see the little divider between the pan and the waterfall. Now I've more closely matched that up, and it should adjust itself with varying screen resolutions. So now when you move it, it moves fairly fluid, and it should always be on the bar, no matter what your screen resolution is. The other thing is FM. This 1750 tone, to get access to older repeaters, I added a timer for the length of the tone. That's another feature I added. The next one is in the LoTW screen, the spotting. Somebody had asked me to fix this for their call sign. They had over 330,000 QSOs and over 100,000 QSLs, and I just didn't write code to handle that kind of file, and so I modified that to handle much larger LoTW files. The next is the using RX2 for CAT. Okay, so I added right here this additional CAT control, and what that does is if you have a program like WSJTX FT8 and you want to run a second instance, which I describe on my webpage, if you do a virtual COM port pair, and in this case 23 is the other end of this COM port pair, so 23 is what WSJTX is set up for a second instance. WSJTX thinks it's talking to VFOA, but it'll actually send it to VFOB. And you can use this for other programs like FLDigi. The idea is to allow you to use RX2 for running some digital programs simultaneously with whatever you want to do on the first receiver. And like I said, I explain kind of the WSGTX example on my website, so we don't need to do that here. The next is on the back at the spotting screen. When you hold your mouse over now, you don't have to try to interpret the color. It'll actually explain what each one is when you hold it over. What it'll tell you, if you have it confirmed or if you need this, want this. So I added that tooltip capability. Next one was in calibration. Calibration. So when you want to calibrate your frequency, before it would just leave you on this screen, but now if I click this, it will go into the spectrum screen. And the reason I had to do that was the high res mode I added to the screen was messing up the calibration routine, so I just went to the spectrum screen instead, and that cured the problem. The other thing, going back to the spotter screen, is these spots now, they are, if I click on, if I right click, it'll open up a QRZ page. If I, so then that opened up a QRZ page. If I left click, it will take me to that particular, to that particular, on the VFOA, to that spot on VFOA. But if I were to mouse wheel click, it will take the VFOB and it'll send it to VFOB. And it explains this up here at the top. Now if I enable my RX2, then I can separate those out, and then I can actually select to see see all the stations that are on the RX2's band, that are showing on the RX2 band, so I can separate them out if I want. But mouse wheel click will send the spot to VFOB versus the left click sends it to VFOA. The only thing with VFOB is it can't do these splits. VFOA can do the splits. The next is in the next one is the VAC. So I've added, I run remote a lot, and I wanted the ability to not have to keep changing between the Voicemeeter Banana digital audio cables to back to just basically your primary capture and sound driver and capture driver. So the idea being is if I run remote, I select this B because it's the normal PC speaker microphone. I select A, and now this would be for digital, running digital modes like FL-Digi or WSJTX. It runs it on a separate pair of virtual cables versus just using, in this case, the speaker and the microphone. But it just makes it easier to go back and forth and not have to reselect these each time by being able to just select whichever one I want. And then you just simply enable VAC. Next one is in the antenna panel. I added an SO2R function for Flex 5000 with a second receiver. This disappears when it's off. When it's on, now I can select when I make my second receiver be the transmitter, I can actually select a different antenna. So if I'm on, let's say, 6 meters, and if I'm in expert mode, I can actually choose, I can make it choose so that different bands will have different antenna selections. But RX2, the primary antenna is antenna 1. You don't have much to choose from. It's either antenna 1, or you can do the RX2 B and C connector on the back input, or tap off of whatever RX1 is listening to. But antenna 1 is the primary, and then I can select from the 3 antenna ports on the back as the transmitter, and then it'll all save that. And then at the same time, I can choose, if I have an SO2R amplifier, I can choose so that if I click this, it would mean that the yellow RCA connector, when I transmit on receiver 2, is going to key whatever amplifier is hooked up to the yellow connector, versus in this case the red and the white would key up from receiver 1, from transmitter over here. So you have the choice now of more of an SO2R operation. The next thing is in the memory panel. Normally you click on, well, a single click highlights it, and you can either hit select or double click it, and it'll take it'll take this one to that particular area now. But if I want to, I can mouse wheel click on the other one, like in this case the DRM, and it takes me to that frequency. So a mouse wheel click will take you, will move that frequency for VFOB, versus a double click will change VFOA. You can do the same thing down here, and it even says it in the tooltip. If you just hit the select button, if I click once over here to select it, but I hit the select button now, it takes VFOA over there. If I highlight this and then I mouse wheel click, it'll separate it and bring VFOB over to that. So now the only thing it won't work is splits. VFOB does not handle splits. Now the last section is the band stack over here. It's a dual band stack for the RX2 option. So now I can just simply click and I can watch what's going on this case on 6 meters. Let's turn the map off here. What's on 6 meters, and then I can have a separate band stack for what's going on whatever other band. And then these functions here, if I left click on these, it affects VFOA. If I right click on these, and it says that if you hold your mouse over it, it'll affect this band stack. And it's a shared band stack. Whatever I modify here, if I go to 6 meters on VFOA, it's going to be using the same band stack. And again, if I right click the meters on top, I can change the meters, put them back over to the side, and then I can have my band stack over here. It's up to you. And that's it.